Before the truth can set you free, you need to recognize which false belief is holding you hostage. Cognitive biases are formed by individuals who create their own subjective reality based on how they process information. Today, we will explore the role our unbalanced perceptions play in influencing our anxiety. Data gathering bias, or jumping to conclusions reasoning bias, is the tendency to use less data to reach a conclusion before a reasoned decision can really be made. For example, Dave may not talk to others in a social situation because he believes other people don't like him. Because he holds this belief, he then acts in a manner congruent with his belief and continues to be a loner. This has become a self-fulfilling prophecy for Dave, and he now, more than ever, believes that people do not like him. When making important decisions, or when drawing conclusions, it is often best to get as much information as possible from different sources that represent all the possibilities. If this is not possible, it may be useful sometimes to challenge your beliefs by acting in direct opposition to your beliefs. Who knows, you might very well find out that some people do like you. What have you got to lose? Belief inflexibility is a cognitive bias that results in rigidity of beliefs when exposed to contradictory evidence. When I was younger, I knew an elderly lady who was a close friend of the family. She was incredibly nice and done a lot for the community. Whenever I saw her, she neither looked happy or sad, but her expression was mostly neutral. Despite this, she was one of the nicest people I have met. She would always have good things to say about other people and seemed genuinely interested in the welfare of others. One day I complimented her and said, "You are such a nice person." Her demeanor changed immediately. She became withdrawn and replied, "I am not a nice person. I am horrible. I am a wicked person." I was genuinely shocked at her response, and no matter how much I tried to convince her otherwise, she continued to reiterate her belief. It is certainly our right to think and believe whatever we choose. And of course, some of us might have some underlying issues to deal with, but if we continue to think in negative ways, we are the ones who will continue to suffer with unpleasant emotions. We are the ones who will continue to pay the price. Is it worth it? Attention to threat bias, or interpretation bias, is the tendency to attend selectively to threat-related information. When I was experiencing social anxiety years ago and I would hear people laugh, I would automatically assume that they were laughing at me, and therefore I immediately triggered my anxiety, or more specifically, a physiological stress response. This would result in me experiencing a whole bunch of physical symptoms and feeling so uncomfortable that I would leave whatever social situation I was in. Over time, I trained myself to question my automatic thoughts that people were laughing at me. Subsequently, I soon stopped triggering off stress responses in these social situations. I was then able to remain more grounded and was able to stay in the social situation despite lingering feelings of anxiety. The first step to anxiety recovery is not to get rid of your anxiety or anxiety symptoms. It is to no longer fear your anxiety or your anxiety symptoms. Day cannot exist without night. Good cannot exist without bad. And confidence cannot exist without fear. We need to do what we are afraid of despite the anxiety. Our anxiety only continues to grow because we perceive it as a big, scary monster. Try calling its bluff and watch it fold. External attribution bias is the tendency to blame other people for negative events. I am sure you have all come across the person in life who is unable to take responsibility for their lives. Anything that goes wrong in their lives is often or always somebody else's fault. They play the victim in life and tend to adopt beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors that reinforce their bias. There is no doubt that particular external forces such as the government, the environment we grew up in, and our parents, for example, play key roles in shaping our physical and cognitive development. However, how much control of this do we really have? What can we really do about it? Most of these things are out of our control. To some, it may seem attractive to not take responsibility in life and see themselves as a victim, but this only keeps the person stuck. If we acknowledge that various external influences played a role in contributing to us becoming an anxious person, but that we are 100% responsible for achieving recovery, then we empower ourselves and are then more equipped to navigate our lives in a more meaningful direction. There are always external forces at play, but in my opinion, it is better to focus on what we can control in our lives and make a pledge to ourselves to take full responsibility for making our life better, whilst at the same time acknowledging that there will always be aspects of our lives that we cannot control. Heuristic reasoning is the tendency to use the availability heuristic to predict future negative events based on experience of past negative events. For example, the person might tell themselves, well, last time I tried to ask somebody out, I started blushing and stuttering my words. I made myself look like an idiot, and on top of that, the person I was interested in laughed at me. So, therefore, I will never put myself in that situation again. It is understandable that because we have suffered in the past, that we would want to avoid suffering again. But life involves risk. If we do not go after what we want and continually try to protect ourselves, we inadvertently end up causing ourselves more suffering. We also end up missing out on valuable opportunities and a chance to form meaningful relationships. If we continue our lives in this way, life has a funny way of dragging you into reality, and when that happens, it really hurts because time is something that you cannot get back, and time is our most precious commodity. In my opinion, it is better to go after what we want in life, as there is a chance that we might just get it. If we do not go after what we want, then it is unlikely we will ever get what we truly want in life. For example, if you ask out that pretty girl, there is a chance she will say no, but there is also a chance she will say yes. But if you never ask, there is no chance that she will say yes. Okay, so instead of asking yourself, what if she says no, perhaps flip your perspective and ask yourself, what if she says yes? We can continue to tell ourselves stories that because something happened in the past, that it will continue to happen in the future. If things are not changing in your life, it might be a sign that you need to do something differently in order to bring about change. So whatever has happened in your past does not need to continue to define you. Your past does not equal your future.